Okay, folks. First off, welcome to this little short thing of Pillow to Post. I didn't have a lot to say this week. I didn't have a lot to do because we said a lot of it on the CWF after show. And um, this past Monday was July 4th, so we really, or leading into the 4th, I believe it was. So it was the 3rd. So I was on vacation at Myrtle Beach. Had a really fun time in that tourist trap. Tried to avoid most of the crowd as I could. Um, got to eat at Wahlburgers for the first time. If anybody knows about Wahlburgers, Mark Wahlberg's brother started a restaurant chain. Him and his family did, the whole Wahlberg family, and they have a reality show called Wahlburgers about the family and them running the restaurant. They opened up a location in Myrtle Beach. I got to eat there for the first time as my microphone goes crazy. And, hold on. All right, we'll do it your way, soundboard. Sorry about that. So I got to eat at Wahlburgers for the first time. Um, what else here? It was a 2 hour wait because for those of you who don't know, Wahlburgers. If you've never been to Myrtle Beach, Myrtle Beach is awesome. I like going there off season. Why? Because there's nobody there. There's nobody there at Myrtle Beach this time of year. Or that time of year around, September or October. Everybody's gone back. Nobody's hitting the beach anymore. I'm not a beach type of guy. I'll wade in the water. I'll get in there about as most as I got in there this past weekend was about knee deep. I don't like swimming in natural forms of water. I'll just say that, just because diseases and stuff. And I know diseases can lurk in swimming pools and water parks too, but to me, it's just cleaner. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a little bit more cleaner. Um, but I went to so I like going in the off season, and the reason why I like going in the off season, and it was proven why I like going in the off season, why it's better to go in the off season, is because for Wahlburgers, we got there at around 6:45. Actually, excuse me, it was about 6:30. There was a 2 hour wait to eat to get a table in that restaurant. Now, for those who don't know, it's at Broadway at the beach. Broadway at the beach is a huge outdoor mall, if you will. They got a lot of shops there. Not like you're not gonna have like a Belk or a J.C. Penney or a Hot Topic, but it's kind of like local shops. And then they have a bunch of restaurants, and they have like a mini golf. They have a movie theater there that you could do. The thing is centered around a gigantic lake, so you could do boat rides in the lake and everything like that. So during the 2.5 hour wait, they did this deal where you give them your cell phone number and they will text you when your table's ready. So they told us literally go bum around Broadway at the beach, and we'll text you when the table's ready. It's going to be about 2.5 hours though. So my son loves miniature golf, so we went all the way over to the other side, about a quarter of a mile away, and played some miniature golf for a couple hours, and then sat at our table. Waiters and waitresses was very nice. The menu is a la carte, so um, we got to basically you pay for your burger, you pay for your fries separately. The burger set, I got like their very basic burger. Um, Set me back about maybe $6.50. I got their macaroni salad, which was a nice sized bowl of macaroni salad for $4.50. I'm not a huge fan of macaroni salad that is prepackaged, but this said it was homemade, and it is homemade. It's the best, one of the best macaroni salads I've ever had. Um, the hamburger was also very, very good. It's probably the best burger I've ever eaten. It's better than Red Robin, I'll tell you that. And it's about the same price. For a family of five, it was about $70 for us to go out to eat. Um, so there you go. That's Wahlburgers, and we got the bomb around Broadway at the beach. Very good experience. They do a one of the few places I've seen that will serve you an Arnold Palmer, which is half lemonade, half sweet tea. Very good stuff. They have cherry Coke on the menu, so that I'm already a fan of that. But I highly recommend going in the off season if you're going to go to Myrtle Beach. But you're wondering why Jim Cornette's on your screen. Oh, Jimmy. Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. I love you, pal. You're probably one of my favorite managers, if not my favorite managers of all time, but I gotta take issue with something here. On his podcast recently, I think it dropped either yesterday or the day before, he talks about New Japan and the New Japan On Access special that ran last weekend. And oh, Jimmy, I tried to take up for you. I try to realize that, man, you're. I try not to agree with people when they say you're just an out of touch, you know, crackpot of a pro wrestling guy. Some of the things most of the shit you say does make sense, but I'm going to play a little bit of audio here. We're going to dissect this here. Because I watched the New Japan show. Me and Jeff Edwards did an awesome post-game show right here on the network. Go back into the archives, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time we go live. But my God, Jim. Just stop thinking that. I'll go ahead and say it. The business is never going to be what it was when you were coming up in it, when you were running it, and it can't be that way. He talks a little bit about the Rock and Roll Express versus Arn and Tully or whatever here, and how they get the heat and this. It's not that way anymore. The reason why it can't be like it was during the 80s and the 70s and even the early 90s is because kayfabe was around. Don't get me wrong, I miss kayfabe. I miss her. I wish she'd come back. But it's never going to happen. The business will never be taken seriously as it was back then. It can't happen anymore. It won't happen anymore. It will never be that way again. So stop thinking that it can be, Jim. Let's play this bit of audio here. This comes courtesy of the Jim Cornette Talking Sense YouTube channel. And, of course, MLWradio.com. Be sure to go ahead and check it out. I like Jim's podcast half the time. I'm a huge Jim Cornette fan. You guys have heard me preach this over and over and over. But some of the shit that he says now, man, is just getting on my fucking nerves when I hear it. So let's dissect this here.
Speaking of shows that we've had feedback on, because like I said, for the past several days, it's been 12-hour days, not only addressing envelopes for the orders, but of course,
when he talks about 12-hour days, I will say that he has done a brilliant thing with the Vince Russo restraining order. He's made copies of it and is now selling them for like $12, and part of the proceeds go to charity. He raised over $1,000 in 48 hours. So kudos to him for doing this. But let's continue here.
People order other merchandise, books or videos or whatever, so you got to pack the boxes, get the peanuts, the address labels, the customs forms for international. So I tried to sit there in my TV room while I was doing this work and watch the New Japan Pro Wrestling show on Access. And I got through the first 3 matches, and I couldn't devote all the attention I wanted to it because I was working, but at the same time, I got to be honest. Over the weekend, I copied some DVDs for a friend, a Cult of Cornette member. I'm sending them out to some of the training DVDs that I used to give the guys in OVW to watch as an example of classic matches or great stars. I mean, there's the Luthez and Inoki match.
Okay, here's where he starts going off on his tangent, and I'll have to say up front, the history of the business is key. To be a true fan of the business, and to be a wrestler even. Now, granted, I'm not in the business. I'm stupid Mark Joe White. But what modern day fan, if they're not doing a podcast like this, or if they're not trying to make some sort of money from the business, I'm talking casual fan. Now, granted, your casual fan nowadays, who is between the ages of 18 and 34, grew up in the heart of the Attitude Era, probably does not know who Luthez and Antonio Inoki are, nor do they give a fuck in 2017 who they are. No disrespect to Antonio Inoki and Luthez. Huge fan of both, actually. I have gone out and seen matches. Why? Because I want to know about the history of the business. And I know what people are saying. Well, Joe, people who are listening to Jim's podcast are probably the same way as you. I'm speaking now, though, as a casual fan. As even an internet mark, I'll dare say. What common internet mark nowadays is going out looking up Inoki and Fez footage? And they're sitting there marking out over it. Granted, it's probably some good shit to watch. You know what? But I can't go back. Me, myself, I can't go back and watch shit that's that old. It's not relevant anymore in 2017. The business has evolved so much that it's damn near irrelevant. I'll say it. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that. People are going, oh my God, that's so disrespectful. That is the people who paved the road. I get it. But you don't see basketball fans going back and watching old games with Wilt Chamberlain marking out. Or even Larry Bird. You don't see people go back watching Larry Bird games. Oh my God. This is how basketball should be. Basketball's evolved. Fuck, I mean, goddamn, if Jim Cornette was running the NFL, they'd probably still be out there wearing leather helmets. Let's continue with this here. Anyway.
There, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of shit on there. But one thing that really stood out to me that I had not watched in ages was the Rock and Roll Express and Ole and Arn Anderson from Starrcade 85. What a fucking match. What underdog tag team.
It was a good match. And I'll go ahead and say this here. Starrcade 85, I was 11 months old when that show took place. And this is where the disconnect happens, because fans of New Japan, the internet fans that I'm talking about who go to New Japan, I know people hate when I say this word, but the smarks who go to New Japan, yeah, they're probably going back on the WWE Network and watching Starrcade 85. But again, that was when kayfabe was around. The business was different. It has evolved yet again. Between 85 and now, the business has probably evolved 3 or 4 times. You had the Attitude Era. Not even the Attitude Era. You had the Monday Night Nitro era, if we're just talking WCW and WWE. And then you had, the Attitude Era, where they were battling against each other. Then Vince wins. The business evolves again because now there's no competition, and people are now, TNA rises up. So then it evolves into the indies become popular. Now it's not just the indies. It's now that we are global and have social media. Now New Japan is in the forefront. Now Lucha Libre in the forefront. If you had given them New Japan back in 85, people would have shat all over it. I'm telling you, they probably would have. Now, folks like me, who grew up reading wrestling magazines and were kind of like tape traders and, got the newsletters, we would mark out over it. But to the common fan, they don't know what that is. They're not going to care. The only place that ever really made money off of doing shit like that was ECW, and that is a niche audience. Can't nobody tell me any different. Anyway, let's continue here.
Champions that the Rock and Roll were, and how they shined a little bit at the beginning, and then the heels just beat them to fucking death, and Robert sold first, and then Ricky got in and made a fired up comeback for about 15 seconds, and then the heels cut him off, and the work.
Now, I will say, he's right here. Selling is a huge point of the professional wrestling business, even today. It's a cornerstone, probably the cornerstone of this business is selling. And he's gonna. And I'm sorry, I hate to rag on these guys again because they did have a good match at the New Japan show, but the Young Bucks, they don't sell. Sorry, sitting outside the ring for 10 minutes after a spot is not selling. That's catching your breath before you go on to the next spot. Do I need to throw you guys a banana too?
Was impeccable, and everybody's selling was right on, and then with a very brief comeback, the Rock and Roll came from behind, and Cinderella story out of nowhere, and beat Ole and Arn, and then Ole and Arn beat him up again, and Ricky and Robert had to crawl out of the cage, and the people are jumping up and down and throwing babies in the air, and the Rock and Roll Express, the most over tag team I've ever seen in my life, according to that video. And it's some great.
Here's another thing that kills me, that he does not get. And I think, for the most part, people would agree with me. The only wrestling promotion out there that really draws kids and markets to kids anymore is WWE. New Japan, yeah, they have the Club New Japan thing over there for the kids to sign up, like the kids club or whatever, but they're not marketed towards kids. TNA even, not marketing towards kids. CWF Mid-Atlantic has a lot of kids show up, but I don't think they're marketed to that they're marketed to ages 18 to 34 is how pro wrestling, the indie scene at least, is what they're marketing to. It's crazy because Dave Meltzer is going to tell you the average person of the age who watches Raw now is you know, their age, like 54 years old, between 34 and 54. But I'm talking my age group, 18 to 34. I'm 32. New Japan's not exactly, you know, it's kid-friendly, but they're not going out there marketing to kids. Neither is any other indie out there, really. Hell, Shakar is the thing that should be most kid-friendly. They don't market to kids. Anyway.
Yeah, I watched some Lawler and Funk and some Lawler and Mantell and some Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid and you know, Midnight Express and the Southern Boys and, you know, just great matches from years gone by. And then I watched the first 3 matches on the New Japan Pro Wrestling Special on Access. And why did they have, why am I asking you this, but why did they have 2 10-man tags?
Now, this I'll agree with, and I said it on the after show. And Jeff Edwards' thing is, well, that's just what they do. My thing is, why do they do it? But again, that's me wanting to know how shit works, you know?
To open the show.
I can't give you an answer to that.
The first 2 matches on the show are 2 10-man tags, and I know people are going to say, well, he's shitting on it because the Young Bucks were in one of them. The Young Bucks were in the opener. Good place for them.
Yeah.
But
I'll agree with that.
Both matches, it was a 10-man with, and the Briscoes, who I'm a huge fan of, and I would have loved to seen Mark and Jay Briscoe against 2 guys from the other team in a tag match. Because I think the Briscoes, they're not a gimmick. They have the best gimmick in wrestling because they're not a gimmick.
I'll agree with this 100%. Two 10-man tags to start off the show was way too much.
They're real. And they're great athletes, and they look like badasses, and they can fucking work. And I would love to have seen them in a tag team match, but there's 10 guys in there. They're doing everything that they all know, obviously, because the Young Bucks are involved. Every move ever. And then they follow it up with another 10-man tag with the Luchadors from Mexico. And, of course, they ain't going to fucking sit down. They're flying all over the place. By the end of those first 2 matches, when the third match came up, Jay Lethal, another guy who I'm a fan of, and I think is a great talent all around. He was a tremendous asset to Ring of Honor, still is, obviously, but when I was there. And he worked with Hangman Adam Page, who was just a 19-year-old kid just starting out when I was with Ring of Honor last, but, you know, we used him a little bit, but you...
And here's another thing that I don't get about Jim, is that how can you comment on something when you're just watching, you know, and I know I get flack for this too. Joe doesn't keep up with it. Joe doesn't watch it on a regular basis. Japan, no, I don't. But as far as he doesn't know that, you know, I'm sorry, he doesn't know, probably still is the Ring of Honor. He doesn't know that Jay Lethal carried their title for over a year? He doesn't know that House of Truth angle with him and Truth Martini was like the hottest freaking thing going on Ring of Honor, if not wrestling in general, for that year? It shows you how out of touch he is. He's probably sitting at home watching Green Acres reruns instead of watching the new current pro wrestling. Because I guarantee you, if he would watch it occasionally, he would, you know, kind of keep up with the Joneses a little bit. And may even get it.
You could tell he was a puppy with big paws. He had a... If you know what you're looking for, you could look at Adam Page at 19 years old and say, this guy's going to be a hell of a fucking worker. And he is. Now he's 25. But by the time they got in the ring to have the third match, which was the first match of the U.S. Tag Team title tournament.
Not tag team.
Or U.S., I'm sorry. Freudian because we held them for so long. The U.S. heavyweight title tournament for New Japan. The fucking they were trying to have a match, and Lethal was selling his ribs. The story from Ring of Honor, and Paige is trying to be the heel, and et cetera, et cetera. They're trying to actually have a match instead of just go out and do a bunch of fucking gymnastics and spots for no reason, just everywhere, boom, boom, boom. But the problem was they couldn't, because every goddamn move that you could do in a wrestling ring had already been done.
Now, he's right. He's right on the money with that. He's right on the money with it. Pacing of a show is so important. But again, Jeff Edwards was talking about it. New Japan is an entirely different animal. And this is what those New Japan fans are accustomed to. I guarantee you, almost every single member sitting in that audience either watches on Access or watches on New Japan World. There's no casual fans in that audience. There were no real quote-unquote casual fans tuning into Access. Access does what WWE and New Japan, I think, is doing here in the U.S. what WWE should be doing. Catering a little bit more towards the smart marks. Because guess what? The smart marks are now tuning out of WWE and going to watch this shit. Tell me I'm wrong. The ratings dropped again. I don't care if it is a holiday.
By the first two matches for no purpose, meaningless, 10-man tags where nobody, even Jim Ross and Jim Barnett. Jim Ross and Josh Barnett couldn't even tell who the fuck was who or who was on whose team in these two 10-mans because it was just scrambled egg.
Now, that is not exactly the 10-man tag's fault. It probably had a little bit to do with it, but that's called Josh Barnett and Jim Ross not being prepared. And it's Jim Ross showing holes in his damn repertoire and in his commentary.
And then the guys come out that are trying to have a match, and there's nothing left for them to do. And I looked at the fucking counter, and there was like almost 3 hours left in this show, and I said, fuck, I hit the stop button. I will report back maybe next week if I have time to watch the rest.
See, now this is where it gets me. I would never review a show or even attempt to review a show like this unless I had watched the entire thing. I can't. Now, yeah, digging up certain spots on YouTube clips, that's different to me. But something like this, I would have to watch the whole thing before I could speak on it.
Of it. But, once again, if they wanted to make the show better, but they didn't want to leave any of their talent off or leave them without a payoff, give the guys a fucking payoff and leave them off the show and do everybody a favor.
Would you pay them if they weren't working, you stupid idiot? I'm running a wrestling company. I'm not going to pay people who don't work. Even in WWE, where you get a downside guarantee, you don't get paid TV bonuses if you don't work on TV. Now, I agree. Probably could have left one of those 10-man tags off the show completely. But it's Liger, and people want to see Liger, and people want to see those guys. So they had really no choice. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't in this situation. You put them on there in a 10-man tag, because you can't have them all in singles matches. That's way too much. So you have to put them in some kind of tag or battle royal or something like that. And then the fans are going to bitch that, it's too much. But then you take them off the show, and the New Japan fans are going to go, why didn't we see Liger? Where was Liger? Liger should have been here. So I get Jim's point, but the thought of paying somebody just to sit at home, dude, you're a former fucking promoter. I just assume say, hey, we're not booking you. Sorry. We'll give you a couple of extra dates when we get back to Japan or something. Give me a break, Jim. Come on, man. Fuck.
Don't just put everybody in the world on a show because you want to get them a payoff or you want to get them on the show because it doesn't do them any favors. It just shits on your...
It wasn't because they just wanted to have them on the show. It's because they knew the fans would bitch if they weren't on the show. And they wanted to make a good... You only get one chance to make a first impression. TNA has proven that because they actually they've tried 5 times at least over the last 15 years. But Japan ain't gonna be nobody's gonna tolerate that Japan, the way they do with TNA, because it is quote unquote foreign. You can't just not book people. I mean, I get it. I get where he's coming from. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. You're going to have fans bitching either way. There's no pleasing them. So,
your show, all these guys, and another thing, tell the guys, if you're going to have a 10-man, don't go out there and try to make the match better than the main event, because the people paid to see the main event. Go out and keep the people happy. Get them in their seats in the opener. Don't make them throw their
He's kind of right about that. That I'll agree with. But at the same time, when you watched, if he would have watched the show in its entirety, he would have seen that the work rate did build. Again, it's not like the 70s and 80s where you could throw Doink the Clown versus Jim Powers out there and, okay, everybody's in their seats now, we're going to bring out Macho. It doesn't work like that anymore. The business has evolved. Fans have evolved. It's like the fucking buffet. The fans, you start off with the salad and then you go right to the main course. It's not start off with bread, then the salad, then the croutons. No. You gotta fucking, it's just the way the business has evolved. It's the sign of the times. Fans are not accustomed to breathing and having pacing the way it used to be. You can't pace a wrestling show how it used to be anymore. Fans wanted this to be, and this tells me that he has not seen a New Japan show at all, because fans wanted this to be as close to the experience that they would get in the Tokyo Dome or in Sumo Hall or in Osaka even. That's how New Japan wanted it to come off. That's how the fans wanted it to come off. That's how it came off in a roundabout way. Wasn't 100% clone, but anyway.
Fucking popcorn they just bought up in the fucking air. Occupy the fucking time, get the fuck out of there, and let the fucking money matches thrill the people. That's the way you put a show together. But they didn't tell these guys in these 10-mans to not do all this fucking hokey horse shit. And so as a result, there was...
Because you put people in those 10-man tags that are nothing but thrill and hope spot monkeys. Liger's not a spot monkey, but especially the first match. You put a bunch of people in the ring where that's their repertoire. It's what they do. They don't grab 15-minute rest holds.
Like I said, by the third match, there was nothing I saw left for anybody to do. And the people were kind of burnt because they'd been popping on all this shit. Obviously, you put it in front of them. It's like a fucking, guy walks into a restaurant and says, well, I'm not really hungry. Well, all this food on the table's free. Well, I guess I'll eat something. They're going to pop on these matches and all these moves because they're already in the seats. But that's not what they paid to see, and you're just doing the main...
See, this is where he's wrong. This is where he's wrong. That is such a bad analogy, Jim. They paid to see what they would get in Japan. This is what they would have gotten if they would have been sitting in Osaka or Sumo Hall or the goddamn Tokyo Dome. This is what they get overseas. And I know Jim's response is, well, it's the wrong fucking way. Goddamn, motherfucker. It works in Japan. They still treat it as if it's a sport in Japan. Kayfabe, to a certain degree, still exists in Japan, more than it does over here. So they're doing something right.
Vendors a disservice. So anyway, I would have give out of those 20 guys in the first two matches, I would have give 12 of them a payoff and just said, here you go. And I'd had 2 tag matches and featured my guys.
You wouldn't have given them a payoff. You would have not have booked them. Come on. Like Jim Cornette, the wrestling promoter, is going to pay somebody to not show up. Give me a fucking break, Jim. We know you're better than that.
Wanted to get over because after the 10-mans, nobody remembers what the fuck happened, who did what, why did it, what does it all mean?
He's right about that. The 2 10-man tag matches, there was no storyline basis really for those 2 matches to happen at all.
fuck. And then the two guys get in the ring that can work and try to have a fucking believable match, and there's nothing left to fucking do. What'd you think? Did you see the fucking thing?
I actually tuned in, I think, right after the Jay Lethal match. I saw the second half of the show. Or not even half.
Again, it ain't like you ain't had time to go back and watch the rest. Jeez.
2/3 of the show, I
Yeah,
guess.
does it get better?
The Omega, and I know you don't want to hear that, but the Omega Michael Elgin match is fantastic. And I really enjoyed that. Okada's great in the main event. I'm not crazy about Cody as his opponent, so it's not.
Come on, really? Who the fuck did you want him to fight? Brian Last is an idiot. Sorry.
As good as the usual Okada match, but Okada's.
At least right here, he's an idiot because I'm sorry that was a damn good match, and I know everybody goes gaga over the 605 Super Podcast or whatever it may be, but that's just an asinine statement right there to me. But then again, every fan's entitled to their own opinion, I guess.
Great to watch.
And for business, if they're going to invade the United States, they need an American face on top.
Here's where he's wrong. Here's where he is wrong. It's New Japan Pro Wrestling. We want to see Japanese wrestlers. Apparently, he doesn't know how much Okada is fucking loved here in America, or around the world for that matter. And the reason why they even created this U.S. tournament, this U.S. title belt, is for that very reason, to give you your American babyface to cheer for, your North American babyface to cheer for. And guess what? You get that. You got it. You're gonna get it. Spoiler alert. Say it again. Spoiler alert. Omega wins the motherfucker. Omega is probably the biggest babyface in the company after Okada. That's the whole reason why this tournament this title was created. Yes, I know we don't need another title, but this is the only reason why this title was created, is to establish that type of credibility in the U.S. That's it. I don't even think they needed it. I don't think they even needed it, because today, in today's society and the way things are going now, the way the world is, just might as well be all connected. What did the scientists say when before the continent split? What was it, Pangea, that we used to be known as? The whole world was one giant continent connected, and it was Pangea. We've kind of become Pangea again with wrestling. It has no borders anymore. So I think he's wrong about that. Okada's credible. People love him. Hell, you could have Bad Luck Fale as your champion. People would still love it. So give me a break with that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's invading the United States? The people who were there to see New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, that's why Billy Gunn being on the show was something that really irritated so.
Yeah, and Brian's right about that. Billy Gunn being on the damn show really upset a lot of people and was like, what the fuck is he doing here? It makes no sense. And the people were there to see what they see on New Japan World and what they see on Access, because they see it and they go, damn, I wish I was there. Damn, I wish I was there, but I got to go all the way to Japan. Means I got to pay for air flight, hotel, language barrier, rotten fucking food, at least to us here in the U.S. It just, all these things prevent me from going over there. So what New Japan said, okay, we'll listen to you. We'll bring it to you. New Japan didn't say we're putting on an American-style, old-school wrestling show. No, they said we're putting on a New Japan Pro Wrestling show. Come on.
Many New Japan fans.
Well, that may be surprising. And I like Billy Gunn. We've never had a problem. But I don't see that he fits with the fucking...
Yeah, those fans were buying tickets to see the stars of New Japan. They were there to see Okada, Naito, Ishii, Omega, probably some people there to see the Young Bucks, see Elgin.
Probably some people there to see the Young Bucks? Golly, did you see the damn Bullet Club shirts that were there? I don't like them, but I ain't afraid to admit that they're over like Rover.
You see on New Japan, I don't think Cody sold any tickets. No disrespect to him, but he's not part of the pack.
That's bullshit. That is total bullshit. Granted, tickets were probably... It's half bullshit, because I'm sorry, the tickets were going to sell no matter if they all of a sudden decided instead of Okada versus Cody, we're going to put Michael Logan versus Jay Lethal on as your main event, it would have sold anyway. Just because it had the logo and New Japan there, and Red Shoes was there, and the presentation was there. I firmly believe that aspect of it from a live standpoint. The shows were sold before a card was even announced, for God's sakes, which to me is asinine, man. I can't pay for a show unless I absolutely know some sort of what's going on and what direction they're taking. Because then when you pay your money and the show is shit, it's like pre-ordering a video game. Unless you absolutely know what you're getting, don't pre-order it. Because so many people pre-order it and go, oh man, this game is shit, now I can't return it.
Package that really people have been clamoring to see in the United States. Everyone else is. And that's all I'll say.
And I don't mind you saying, it's a shame. Omega and Elgin, I'm sure, is probably a good match. It's a shame that Omega has disqualified himself from consideration by anybody who cares about the business as a real professional wrestler.
No, he's qualified himself from consideration from you. Because you like to hold a fucking grudge. I mean, I get it. He wrestled a blow-up doll. He wrestled a freaking 9-year-old girl. But he's grown up a lot. If I can look past it, man, come on. The match was damn good. The match was damn good. Jim, you need to get over yourself, buddy, and forget that it happened. Just stop. He's evolved. He's grown up. Look how much Shawn Michaels was a pain in the ass to work with. And then he came back in and he was a little bit more grown up. Shawn Michaels got fired from the WWE for being a pompous little ass and doing shit that he shouldn't have done. Then they let him have a second chance. He grew up. Kenny Omega has grown up. Now, I'm not going to be the world's greatest fan. Like all these people on Twitter posting 50 fucking pictures of him a day and swooning over him. That's not me. It's not going to happen. But I know enough to know after this match in particular to say, okay. He's put on 2 or 3 real good matches here. Wrestle Kingdom, Dominion, now this. Those 3 matches alone are enough to make me look at him and go, okay, maybe I could get past the fact that you're right. Now, if he ever does it again, that's it. To me, it's 2 strikes, you're out. Or 3 strikes, you're out. If he ever does something that stupid again. But golly, man, really? He disqualifies himself as anybody who takes the business seriously. Define taking it seriously, because your way of serious is so out fucking dated that it just doesn't work anymore, dude. Sorry, Jim, I love the hell out of you. But you gotta move on, man. Realize it. Again, you even said it in the Ring of Honor DVD, or Kayfabe Commentaries DVD. Wrestling used to draw. It's not the way it was. Well, guess what? It's not the way it was even during the Attitude Era. Wrestling has evolved.
Because of his embarrassing antics and ill-thought-out career choices early in his fucking life. But you know what?
How many sports athletes make bad choices early in their career and then they come back and they're like considered one of the greatest people there ever was? I'm not a sports fan. So feel free to leave me in the comments. I mean, John McEnroe, for crying out loud, one of the greatest tennis players alive, done some stupid shit when it came to the game. But he's considered one of the best. Come on now.
When Sylvester Stallone was a hit with Rocky, they brought out the Italian Stallion, the fucking porn he had made when he was a starving artist. And, yeah.
That doesn't disqualify you. The Stallone went on to make millions, you motherfucker.
And I think Omega's matches with blow-up dolls and small grade school girls.
You just deflated your own argument. You just deflated your own fucking argument, Jim. Stallone's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Stallone has umpteen million movies coming out. He's made millions of dollars. He's richer than you are, Cornette. He's richer than I'll ever be. Just because you do porn doesn't disqualify you from being a good actor. Just because Arnold Schwarzenegger goes and fucks his housekeeper doesn't make him a bad actor. People make bad decisions all the fucking time, man, when it comes to actors. That doesn't mean that they're a bad actor. People make bad movies every now and then. Then they come back and make a good movie and redeem themselves. Give me a fucking break with that shit.
Roles are almost, well, probably a little bit more unsavory, because I guess at least Stallone, did pretty good porn, but anyway. Nevertheless, so there you have it. It's a shame that Kenny Omega cannot be considered a real professional wrestler, because he's a piece of shit. Because he fucking wrestled blow-up dolls and grade school children. Speaking of...
I just can't. I can't do this anymore. I can't follow this guy anymore. I can't sit there and go, dude, how old are you? Did you ever do shit in your career that maybe got laughed at and got considered a... No, I didn't, because I would have got my ass whipped. Well, dude, the business has evolved. Again, you mentioned Sylvester Stallone. Yes, he did porn. Okay, but they also get a part in Rocky. He also came back and redeemed himself tons of times. Pam Anderson had a porno released on her. She still did Baywatch. She still was doing Home Improvement for a couple seasons. She's made millions. Sorry, one or two things to me after seeing the matches that I've seen from Kenny Omega just this year alone, I have to throw that shit out the window now. Again, that's not going to make me a Kenny Omega fanboy. I'm not going to be posting a lot of pictures of him on my Twitter and tagging him in it going, oh, I wish he was my future husband. No, sorry, not going to do that. Not going to do that. I'm not going to go that far. But I will go as far as to say, Jim Cornette, I love you, man. You're probably my favorite manager of all time. You got a good mind for the business. But if you could dial your mind into 2017's wrestling business, and if you could show us, I mean, the shit you're saying right now disqualifies us from taking you seriously. The shit you're saying right now disqualifies you from taking us, or disqualifies you from us taking you seriously. That's why you're just like a Vince Russo, and you don't have a job in anywhere except for these promotions like What Culture that will pay for you to do commentary. And here's the rub with What Culture. They're the very fucking thing that you should hate. They're the marks behind the curtain. How do you explain that? Oh, because they're giving you a fucking payday. If you could get your mind into 2017, I think you still have a lot to offer this business. But until then, until you can wake up and realize that, yes, everybody does dumb shit, but they do get a chance, there's a second chance. Obviously, you don't believe in second chances in the wrestling business. Yes, I know you only get one chance to make a first impression, but Kenny Omega has redeemed himself and left that shit behind. Anyway, folks, I hope you got something out of this. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this. And we'll see you down the road.